Hey everyone, how's it going? So what am I working on now? Well, I got my friend Chris's Suburban. I don't know if you remember, I made mention in a video when I was having a rough morning, how I was gonna take this thing to work and I had to recharge the AC system basically. But then I decided, you know what? Let me do it at home so I can show you guys that you guys can do this at home. But you do need some tools. You do need a few specialty tools. I don't know if you can rent some of this stuff from the parts store. You may be able to. I don't know. You'd have to check. But I figure let's go through it and let me show you what you got to do. One thing you definitely need is a vacuum pump. Now, a lot of people don't realize this. When they'll pick up at the parts store one of those cans, like freeze off or whatever it's called, below freezing or below 32 or super cool or whatever the heck it's called. It's the Freon rechargers in a can, and there's nothing wrong with that, but a lot of people don't realize this. If your system's empty and you add that to it, you're compacting the air that's in the system. You're adding to air that's in the system. You don't want to do that. It won't work right. Your system will not work correctly. If you already still have some in it, yes, then it'll work. It's only when the system goes completely dead. His system was empty. Now, he had recharged this thing a year ago himself with one can. He just added one can of those, whatever you call it, the freeze off, whatever. And it's, you hook it to the low side port and you charge it. I don't have one here. I wish I did that I could show you. I do have one somewhere. I don't know where it is though. But anyway, I got a funny feeling his system was completely empty. And when he did it, all he did was add to the air. So it was at the beginning of last year, so it's basically been a year and a half. Now, when I got to it, the system was pretty much empty. So we kind of have to start from scratch. So I'm gonna have to charge it, and I'm gonna have to put it into a vacuum first. I'm also gonna put tracer dye in the system. But we're gonna do it at home. I'm gonna show you how you do that. Now, I used to have a Robinair vacuum pump. And when I went to go pull it out to start this video, it didn't work. It's like, okay, it turned on, but it wasn't creating any kind of a vacuum. Okay, well, I figured, you know what, I'm gonna return it, but instead what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna buy another one. This way I have two. They're not super expensive, but hold on a second before I go any further. So I ordered one, UPS lost it. I contacted them and they were gonna ship another one out via FedEx. I got it, the box looked fine, I opened it up, and one of where the gauge set hooks up to the vacuum pump, the fitting was actually snapped off. So it's just like, obviously it snapped off in the warehouse and whatever happened, and then it got packaged up and then shipped. So I was like, all right, cancel the order completely. I just sent mine out, have them fix it. However, I went onto Facebook Marketplace and I found this for $10, locally, no less. This is a vacuum pump. You plug it into the wall, run an extension cord to it, you turn it on, and here it creates a vacuum. That is the vent out. It's supposed to be like a vent cap on it, but it was snapped off. So I got it for 10 bucks. I ain't complaining, it works. And it was sitting in a guy's garage forever, and he just wanted to get rid of it. So 10 bucks, can't go wrong. So I bought it. It's a Mac Tools. I can't stand Mac Tools. I think they suck, but that's neither here nor there. So there's a couple other things you do need. Let me show you. You need a Manifold Gauge Set. I have one. However, it's an old Harbor Freight one, and the hoses are cracking and leaking. So I was like, you know what? I'll just buy a new setup. I bought this one off of Amazon. I'll add links to the bottom in the description. You're also going to need one of these because you have to be able to puncture these. Okay, here's my microphone. I'll just put that to the side. And also, here's tracer dye. This we're going to add right to the system. I don't have an installer for the tracer dye, but I'm going to show you how to do it without an actual installer. So I got to put this gauge set together. So let's do that. I don't even know what everything is that's here. Obviously, these are coupler fittings. I don't know why there's two different styles, but there is. Whatever. Oh, they actually gave you one in the kit for the other style. Or actually, yeah, these I don't like too much. this style. I prefer this style over this style. This style I've always found tends to leak. I didn't even realize it came in the kit, but whatever. All right, let's get this thing assembled so we can hook it up and we can start vacuuming the system out. All right, so here are the manifold gauges. Here are your hoses. Did they even give you Teflon tape with it? Okay. I'm not sure I would use Teflon tape on any of this. That's what that appears to be, is Teflon tape. Yep, Teflon tape. Like I said, I'm not sure I would use that. So, red is high side, blue is low side, yellow is the feed hose. So, feed hose is the center, red is high, blue is low. This thing's been out in the sun and it's kind of hot. I brought these out just in case I needed them for anything, because some of these have a square like this to screw on, and that just becomes a pain in the neck if I didn't have a tool to do it. So you just make it hand tight, and these have a seal at the end. I don't know if you can see that. So that seal butts up against this chamfered fitting here. Wow, this thing's hot. It is like burning hot to the touch. And you don't have to put a pair of pliers on it or anything like that. Now, I'm not quite sure why they give you two different styles. I guess this is in case you got to extend it a little bit. I don't know. Kind of weird. Now, it's marked as high and low. See that? So there again. Oh, look at that. It actually comes with a little handy dandy tool of its own. That's a square drive to grab the end of that and turn it, so you could use it on either end of the hose. But like I said, you don't have to go bananas tightening these things up. If you have any kind of strength in your hands, you should be able to do this. I mean, if you have weakened hand strength, then yeah, maybe it'll be a problem and you got to use those. But you should be able to do it. Because let's see. There, I got that about as tight as I can go by that. And yeah, it's tight. So, not overly concerned. All right. So these, we're going to hook this up to the vehicle itself. And it comes with a handy dandy hook. So, let's get you over here where you can see what am I gonna do. Yeah, this gauge set is hot. And really, all we're gonna do is hang this off the hood. Okay, nice and simple, just like that. Now on this, they conveniently put the fittings in an easy to reach spot. Let me just make sure that I'm as far up as I can be. So both fittings are in a very easy to reach spot. This should be high side. This should be low side. Okay, so now, this is a high side fitting. You want to make sure that it's turned all the way out, because the plunger, you want the plunger all the way out. And it should come to a stop. It came to a stop. Turn this all the way out. I hope you could see all that. I can't tell. Oh, see, I was probably down off the video. But you want to turn these all the way out. I'm sorry if I was off the video. So you hook, you got to pull back on this collar here, like that, to release those balls on the inside, because that's what locks it in place. So you pull back on that collar, drop it in place, and then it's locked. Then you turn down on the knob. You can hear a little bit escaping from here. And that's because of, it's not Freon, it's just air. It's because the system is hot from sitting in the sun, but there was nothing in it. So we're just gonna let that sit for a second, let that equalize. Now this end, we're gonna hook up to the vacuum pump. Actually, let me let it completely calm down. So it still has stuff coming out of it. But like I said, it was just under pressure because just from sitting in the sun, pressure builds up. Hello, screw on there. Uh-huh. Is this not the same size kind of fitting? Maybe not. Hold on. They give me a couple of adapters here. I don't know. They give you adapters and they give you some seals. And of course, I put a piece of tape on this, so I can't get it open because I don't have a knife on me. Oh, okay, there we go. All right, so I just took that out of that kit. And you screw that down on there. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn that pump on and we're gonna open up the gauges. Let me just back you up completely. So the pump is a bit noisy, so you're not gonna watch this whole thing, but let me explain it. So now the gauges themselves, you want to make sure everything's open. And it's not putting it into a vacuum. Why is that? Why is it not putting it into a vacuum? There's a Schrader valve on the end of that. I'm wondering if that's the problem. What you can do is you take this off of here. I have nothing. So I got a funny feeling it's just a Schrader valve in here that's the issue. See that? It's got a Schrader valve in there. So they do give you a Schrader valve tool in the kit here. If I could get it out of the kit, it's stuck in the styrofoam. Okay, now let's try it and see what happens. I got vacuum there. Okay. If you look closely, you can actually see the gauge is starting to move. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this go. We're going to let this go for about 15 minutes, let's say, 20 minutes. The longer you do it, the better. What actually happens when you're sucking out, when you're putting the system into a vacuum, what actually happens is any moisture that's in the system gets boiled out under a vacuum. So it gets dispersed into the atmosphere. So you want to try to get out as much moisture as possible. So we're going to leave this thing running for about 15-20 minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to charge this. It's the first time I'm ever using this setup, so that's why I had like little glitches here and there, but everything seems to be working so far. So give it about 15-20 minutes and we'll come back to this. All right, so it's been about 30 minutes now, and let me just show you. You'll never get to 30. You'll get close, but you'll never get to 30. So at this point, shut off the valves. We're going to leave everything connected though, and I'll explain that in a second. Shut that off for now. If it had a massive leak, it would lose vacuum. It will settle a little bit. You will see some change. But the system is designed to hold pressure, not vacuum. I've seen where you get some kind of a leak under a vacuum scenario, but under pressure, you never have a leak. I've seen it. So I never go by the vacuum gauge, ever. I never trust it. Always go by a pressure test. So what I want to do now is, this thing should have had dye from the factory in it. However, I want to add some dye to it, add a little bit of oil to it, because I don't know what's in there. So I just want to do that. All we're doing is charging this thing up, getting some tracer dye in there, because I want to be able to have the thing full and running and operating, because that's how you find the leak. The tracer dye will help you find the leak. Plus the oil will seep out wherever it's leaking. At least it should. My Kia, which I had charged that thing twice, and it would be dead in a month, has been holding a charge now for, I don't know, 3 months, and it's working fine. I could see some leaking right at the compressor, so I know the O-ring's leaking, but I think it sealed itself. I don't know, weird. So let me show you what we're gonna do. We're actually gonna turn that pump back on, and we're gonna disconnect the low side. But right here, we're gonna disconnect the low side. Let's turn the valve till it stops. Disconnect. Now, the reason for that is I am gonna pour oil, that oil and dye mixture, directly into the port. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn the vacuum pump back on, because I want the high side to be under a vacuum. There is what's called a Schrader valve inside here. So pouring the oil in there, it's not gonna get sucked directly up in here. You may think it is, but it's not. It's gonna wanna pull through this way, so it'll wind up traveling into the receiver dryer. So let me turn the pump back on, let me get that stuff, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna press down slightly on that Schrader valve and pour it in. So hopefully you could see this, but turn that pump back on, open that back up, make sure that's down. Now let me see if I can't focus in on that a little bit for you. That's too close. All right. Now what I did do is I poked a little hole inside the top of this oil. See that? So now the air that gets sucked in while I'm doing this, it's not a big deal, because we already sucked out any moisture that was in the system. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press down on the Schrader valve slightly. You hear the change in the pump? That's because I added some air to the system. I added a little bit, not a whole heck of a lot. And I just dropped my screwdriver. I think I landed in the grass, but I can't tell. Dang it. All right. On to step 2. I could pull the Schrader valve out, but I don't want to do that. Alright. I added some. Oh, maybe. When we were at the dealership, we used to have this stuff that would come in these little tiny bottles like this. I know I'm too close now, you can't see it, right? It would come in these little tiny bottles that were about this big, and that's all they made you add to the system. But that should be good for what I got to do. So now we're just going to let that thing run for a little bit. That valve, basically if you unscrew it, it closes the valve, shut the vacuum pump off. Okay, I closed the manifold set right there. They're both closed. So now what I'm going to do is, now everything that I have was purchased on Amazon. So you can buy this stuff too. It's not a big deal. You don't need a special license or anything for this stuff. So now this, I don't know if they want you to shake it or anything. I don't think so. I don't think it makes a difference. Okay, they want you to have the can upside down. It doesn't say that it has tracer dye in it. It may already have tracer dye in it. I won't know till I'm done here. But now make sure that, I'm sorry if my head was in the way. Make sure that this is unscrewed. I was reading the back of the can, so I apologize if you were looking at my back. And you want to make sure that that thing that pinches the bottle is away. So now, basically, you're just going to screw this on here. Now, this thing holds 3 pounds. Each one of these cans is equivalent of a pound. So what we're going to do is we're going to hook this up to the negative side here. Now, this only, the negative side, the low side. These will only charge through low side. Okay? So now, what you want to do is you screw this in. And you can feel the can getting cold. I don't know if you can hear it. Pay attention to it. I can hear it. When it stops, you know you're done with this can. And I can actually feel the level changing in here. All right, so now it just evened out. So it should be good. Now, one thing I don't know is a lot of these things will close off a valve when you open them all the way. But I don't know if this one will, so I don't want to take a chance. So now I just let a little bit escape. So now I'm going to just change the bottle. See, now nothing, there was no charge there. And it appears, if you look, there's a little bit of green on there. So this must have tracer dye in it. So now, second bottle. So, since this thing holds 3 pounds, we are going to be right on the money with 3 cans. When I go to put the third can in, however, I'm going to start this thing. Okay, I could feel it going in, but let me do this. Okay, yeah. As you unscrew it, it shuts off a valve in here. There's a sweet spot. Right there, there's a sweet spot. And I can feel the level coming down because the can is getting cold. All right, and now it just stopped. So I can unscrew this all the way, and then it'll block off the port in there. At least it should. Now you may get a little spritz. Oops. Like that. See, that's why I actually didn't want to do that, but I thought it would clear. So, all right. We're going to disconnect it from there. And now we're going to unscrew it from here. So, see, I show you when I make mistakes. So, let me actually get a rag and clean my hand off here. Hold on one second. Now, be mindful. What you just saw when I got it on my hands, that stuff is extremely cold, okay? You can get burned. I have so much callus on my hands that I don't notice it. I mean, I felt it. It was cold. So you may, if you're not used to it and you do something like I just did and you get this stuff on your hands, yeah, you may get freezer burn, basically. Third degree frostbite. Or is it third degree frostbite? How about just frostbite? I think you know what I mean. So we're going to hook this back up. The amount I lost is not a terrible amount, so I'm not too concerned about it. All right, so once again, the third bottle. Now, I am going to wash down this engine bay. I don't know why, but this one didn't feel like it did anything. That's wild. Huh. Okay, gonna have to investigate that one a little bit. Let me do this. It's possible the charge level has equalized. So what you have to do in a situation like that is start it up and turn the AC on, and what it'll do is on the low side it'll actually suck it into the vehicle. So let me move this stuff out of the way real quick so I can start the vehicle. Hold on. I don't even know what you're looking at, to be honest with you. Can you see all of this that I just did? No, but you got a general idea. I just disconnected the vacuum pump. Just want to get it out of the way. So let me start this up and let me turn the AC on. I don't know if you heard that, but the compressor just kicked on. I don't feel anything going in. That's weird. That is really weird. I don't feel anything going in, so I don't know if something didn't pierce. Unfortunately, we're going to have to disconnect this. I mean, it could be a defective can too. It's possible. It pierced the can, but nothing's coming out. Looks like I'm gonna have to shoot this one. All right, let me grab another can. I'm gonna have to message that one to the seller. Hang on one second. All right, so here's another new can. Tighten that up. Okay, I feel this one going in. And then if you could see that gauge, see how it's shown in the red? That's because the refrigerant's going in. You want your low side pressure to be in that blue range. You should want, it should be to the lower end, honestly, on like slightly cooler days. But today's a pretty hot day. So on a hot day, up around 50, on a cooler day, around 30. But there again too, I don't know how accurate this gauge is. All right, I just actually felt the electric fan kick on, so now the pressure should go down. And there you see it's going down. The electric fan is what helps cool down the condenser. And obviously the radiator too. All right, so that's good. So there was just a little bit of residual left in there, but that's good. I'm happy with that. Put your caps back on. I'm gonna have to wash this engine bay. Make sure you have rags handy, because I'm gonna glow in the dark tonight unless I wash my hands really good. All right, let's see what it's like inside the car. I unfortunately do not have a thermometer. Oh, wait a minute. I used to have one in my truck. Let me check to see if I got it in my truck. Hang on 1 minute. Nah, unfortunately it's not there. I must have taken it out at work. It's probably in my toolbox. I just forgot all about it. So now, obviously, you can't see temperature. Ugh. But yeah, it's nice and cold in here now. I'm happy with that. And I know Chris is going to be happy with that. It's nice and cold. So, all right. Yeah, this is good. All right, so Chris will be happy. I'm happy that he's going to be happy. But what I'm going to have him do is come back in a couple of weeks, and then I want to recheck it and see what I can't find. But anyway, so that's about it. What I'll do is I'll put links in the description for everything that you saw me use here today. Because like I said, that Freon, you know, you don't need a special license. If you wanted to buy a 30-pound container, you need a special license for it, which I have, but I don't want to buy a 30-pound container for the house. I don't do this all that often, so, but you know, it's good to have. But you definitely need a vacuum pump. Like I said, I'm not sure if you can rent them from the auto parts store. You may be able to, but you don't want to just recharge without putting the system into a vacuum, because you're just going to create more problems. If you're just adding Freon on top of air that's in the system, like let's say you fixed it yourself and you put a condenser in it and you don't put it in a vacuum, it will never work the way it's supposed to. And eventually you could actually damage the compressor, believe it or not. What happens is the moisture in the air just stays in the system. The receiver dryer has desiccant in it, and it should absorb the moisture, but if it gets overloaded and it can't absorb all the moisture, it'll eventually ruin the compressor. It could, you know, rust out the condenser from the inside, or the evaporator, or, you know, anything else from the inside, or corrode it or whatever. So that's why you want to put it in a vacuum, because it makes the system work the way it's supposed to. So, all right, well, hopefully you got something out of that. You got to see my mistake, like I said, and be careful. You definitely don't want that stuff spraying in your eyes. It will blind you. You can get freezer burn or frostbite, whatever you want to call it. You can wind up with that. Like I said, it didn't bother me. I mean, yes, it was cold, but it didn't bother me. If it started to bother me, I would have just taken my hands off of it and let it go, you know, and then just started all over again. That's all. But so it's safety is the most important thing. So just be mindful of that. All right. Well, hopefully you got something out of that. If you did, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. All right, guys, have a great day. Keep wrenching.